Today we're going to look at chords. At higher level, you're required to identify chords 1, 4, 5 and 6 in major and minor keys, in treble and bass clef. You should complete the chord tables for each of the keys in your literacy booklet. You should start to take notice of the language used to name the first, third and fifth notes of the scale, the tonic, subdominant and dominant. You can use a keyboard to help you with these tasks. Here is the language musicians use to describe the degrees of the scale and the notes within a chord. At higher level, you're required to know note 1, which is the tonic, note 4, the subdominant, and note 5, the dominant. Let's start by looking at chords 1, 4, 5 and 6 in the key of C major. This table helps us work out what notes are used in each chord of each key. You should find these grids on a page in your literacy booklet called Keys and Chords. On the first grid of your Keys and Chords page, write out the notes of the scale of C major on the bottom row. Then identify the notes of each chord from that. In C major, that would look like this. Chord 1, the tonic, is the chord of C, and it will contain note 1, C, note 3 is an E, and note 5 is a G. Pause the video to copy this information into your booklet. Let's have a look at the next key. F major. Same idea, using the same table, the same grid. This helps us work out what notes are used in each chord of this key. So again, pause the video, copy the information into your booklet so that you have all of the necessary information for the chords of F major. Remember that you are focusing on chord 1, chord 4, chord 5 and chord 6. Copy all the other chords too, but those are the 4 you should focus on. Notice the language underneath the table, the tonic, and so on. Notice the kinds of chords you get at each degree. Chord 1 is a major chord. Chord 4 and 5 are major chords. Chord 6 is always a minor chord. Let's take a look at the next key, which is G major. Again, let's use the table, the grid, to help us work out what notes are used in each chord of G major. Pause the video and copy all the information into your booklet. Start by writing out the notes of the scale of G major, then identify the notes of each chord from that. Again, pay attention to the language under the table and remember to focus in on chords 1, 4, 5 and 6. So let's take a look at the final key, which is the key of A minor. The chords in this key are a bit different. They take a different format. Chord 1 and 4 in A minor are minor chords. Chords 5 and 6 in the key of A minor are major chords. So this is a bit different to the major keys that you've just learned about. Pause the video and do the same as you did before. Copy all the information from this grid into the final grid of your Keys and Chords page. This will help you work out what notes are used in each chord of the key of A minor. Remember to write out the notes of the scale first of the key of A minor along the bottom row, and then identify the notes of each chord from that. So here's the next bit. You're supposed to take the information from the grid, learn it inside out, memorise it, and then know how to apply different chords to a melody within a piece of music. So let's look at this with the key of C major first of all. Here is a bar of music, and there is the chord of C major. In a literacy question, you would look at the melody within the bar of music and you would identify which chords you're allowed to use from the key signature that you have identified within the piece of music. You would decide what notes are in the melody and therefore which chords you can use. In this bar of music we have the notes C, G, E and G. Those notes all match up with the chord of C major, so you can use C in this bar. In this next example, let's look at chord 4, the chord of F. On the right we have an example of what a melody would look like, and on the left the chord of F with the 3 ingredients belonging to that chord. Within the bar of the melody you've got the notes C, A, F, A, C, A, and all of those match up to the ingredients of the chord of F, so you can quite comfortably choose the chord of F for this bar. You definitely could not choose the chord of G, chord 5, because all of the notes in that chord clash with the notes in the melody. You couldn't use chord 1 because both the E and the G notes would clash with the melody. And you also couldn't use chord 6 because the E note of that chord would also clash with the melody. And so we continue with the next example, same idea, melody on the right, chord on the left, your grid above where you can identify what notes are in each chord and which chords could match the melody. Obviously identify what notes you have in your melody first and then try and match the chord to the melody. Scene again, this time using the chord of A minor, your melody on the right, your chord on the left, your grid above. Identify what notes you have in the melody and match your chord. Matching a chord to a melody won't always be straightforward though. Sometimes you'll come across passing notes, notes that don't belong to the chord being used, notes that are found between chord notes and therefore act as a link from one chord note to another. Notes that can be used to add more interest to a melody rather than just using chord notes. So how do you work out which chord to choose when there are passing notes in a bar? First, you need to check the key signature so that you know which chord you can use. You need to take one bar at a time and work out what notes you have. You should choose a chord which matches the majority of the melody notes in the bar. Well, let's look at this example using passing notes. First of all, check your key signature. You're in the key of C major. Look at bar 1. C and E belong to chord 1 and chord 6 in C major. But since this is the first bar of the piece, it's likely to start on the tonic chord, therefore chord 1, which is C. The note in the middle is D. D is used as a passing note. It doesn't fit into chord 1. But it's used as a passing note to create a stepwise melody. In the next bar, we've got the note F. F belongs to chord 4 only. Therefore, this bar would only use chord 4, which is the chord of F. Take some time to look at this example to get used to what you need to do when you have a literacy question to insert chords involving passing notes. If you haven't already done so, fill out the keys and chords page within your literacy booklet. Study with this for a short time each day and use this page to help you with chord questions in Google assignments. Make good chord choices! Happy studying!